Instagram. Everybody hit that thumbs up button, subscribe. Don't forget that we are basically still selling the book, Foolish American Politics. Let's discuss the issues. And we are in the building. How is everyone? How is everyone? Welcome to the Lawyer Henderson Show, where we just talk about the issues, talk about what's going on in the world. How's everyone? Hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. The number to call in is 516-418-5867. That's 516-418-5867. You're welcome to join us on the Lawyer Henderson podcast radio show. And we are basically live in Atlanta, Georgia. How's everyone doing today? All right, so today we're going to get right in it. We have a good show, but of course, as you know, I know Tara, she said that my music is kind of crappy. We're going to change that in a minute, Tara. That you cannot hear on the Instagram Live without the music playing. And of course, you know, we've been checking out some music, so we're going to be changing that here in a minute. And also you'll see some previews and advertisers and stuff like that as well. But today we're talking about what are the real charges against Cuba Gooding Jr., R. Kelly, Bill Cosby, and Weinstein. And I think that when we talk there about Weinstein, however, they're trying to basically, because he's a white man, they're trying to just basically try to get him to settle. Now, before all of this stuff, and before the COVID hit, you had these allegations, and so I've talked about this on my Facebook video. I've also dealt a great deal in the R. Kelly situation. We're going to recap on some of that as well tonight. And we're going to talk about this Me Too movement. And guys, let me see, where is my darn headphones at, guys? Oh, here they go. Sorry, guys. I thought I had my headphones on. All right, while we're doing that, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe. We have the t-shirts available for you, And like I said, we're going to be selling those on YouTube real soon. Get this one out here. I'll be selling these real soon. So go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, like and subscribe. Like the video on Instagram. We are on Instagram. So that's what we're talking about today. Yeah. Before COVID hit, Cuba Gooding Jr., Bill Cosby, and R. Kelly, Weinstein, Kevin Spacey, basically women coming out, and saying these guys had sexually assaulted them in Hollywood. So we're talking about that today on the Lawyer Henderson Show. We talked about this, of course, before COVID. We really didn't just indulge in the whole entire, all of the cases, of course, that's coming from Hollywood, of course. We really did not basically go into it. But today we're wanting to just recap on what we've already talked about last year and what we've been talking about since 2018. Because in 2018, I think we've been on Facebook Live, and then Facebook started tripping, so we finally went to YouTube, and we are now also going to Patreon. So don't mind if we get a little bougie here in a minute. But yes, today we're talking about the charges against Cuba Gooding Jr., R. Kelly, and of course what got Bill Cosby in jail or in prison, and then of course the Harvey Weinstein situation, why they're giving Harvey Weinstein special treatment, okay, and why he basically get a chance and opportunity to settle. That is today on the Lawyer Henderson podcast show. Yeah, 516-418-5867, 516-418-5867. Um, Folks, we have in the black community have seen, well, heard and witnessed, um, you know, black man after black man not only been shot and killed by police. A family been seeing, of course, how now in Hollywood or in the music industry, how now you got sexual assault allegations. And remember last week we talked about T.I. being the latest one, him and his wife, ex-wife, I guess. I don't know if he's still married, but I know that him and Tiny, who he was married to, there is a woman, there is this immigrant saying that he basically told them they have to do some drugs and before they can come in. Um, Her name is Sabrina Peterson. Now, Sabrina Peterson, they said, of course, is not a black woman. She's not a foundational black American, as Tariq like to call them. In other words, she's not a native black, in which I like to borrow from our great leader, Dr. Claude Anderson. So she's not a native black. And the ideal here is that we now is going to, after the Democrats got in office, we're now moving back towards this Me Too campaign. And like I told you, you've seen your Tarana Burke alike women come out. And now here they go with all of these issues, their claims. And of course, we went in depth about Sabrina Peterson's allegations last week. But family, this all started, of course, the sexual assault, Me Too, your Shea Butter Twitter crowd. They're coming after men. And so men, we're now confused, okay, because if we even say something to a woman, we might get charged for something. Oh, you're not talking to me, nigga. Oh, you must be gay. No, I don't want you filing a suit against me 10 years later. How about that? You understand? So we have to deal with a lot now because of your shape of the Twitter crowd. See, there are going to be a lot of women now who are going to be left out of jobs and stuff because of these claims. And a lot of them, are bogus anyway because there's adult women knows what they're doing. Now, I'm not saying that every sexual assault victim is lying. Of course not. But family, we have women who are waiting 10, 15 years to talk about their sexual assault, rape from a man. Now, like I said, but that's not really the problem. Okay, if you got claims against a man, all do mean that's fine. Get him basically in trouble. I'm in agreement with that. But see, that's not the issue that I'm talking about today. The issue I'm talking about is waiting a very long time to report the issue. That's what I'm focused on. Not calling the police when it happens. That's what I'm focused at. But the new allegation before COVID hit was against Cuba Gooding Jr. And basically, Dr. Umar Johnson and others, we warned y'all about, having a lot of money and out here messing with these white girls. And for Cuba Gooding Jr., you know, it's like, okay, you're gonna mess with a white girl, but you're gonna mess with a white girl who's not even attractive. you're going to marry white women who basically is look like they thrown away. You see, that's our problem. Okay, if you're going to date a white woman, fine. But see, our issue was what? You're basically marrying the leftovers that the white man has as far as these white girls. And if you just take a look at Cuba Gooding Jr.'s wife, I mean, this is I think the second, or third wife that he's had, and the women he basically have been accused by, just like in Bill Cosby case. Why is these women worth going to jail for you? They don't look good. Family, we've been talking about this. Dr. Umar Johnson was right about this. He said that black men are out here trying to go and date with these white women that the white man do not want. And this is the same issue with Cuba Gooding Jr. Man, I left my notes over here at the table. Hold on, guys. Okay, sorry. But family, it is really a mess out here. This particular issue here about dating some old nasty throwaway white woman, and now there's other women just like her, and you're risking your whole life going to jail over them. That is what I'm upset about. Huh? Now I can see, I could have seen if you had a white chick that basically was, you're hitting on white women that really looks good. I could see that. Okay. Now, yeah, when Pam Anderson, when she was hot in her 20s, I could see that. Um, you know, I can see Sandra Bullock when she was in her 20s was okay. Correct. Wow. So much technical stuff here. Okay. All right, family, let me back up. So I could have seen that. I could have seen it. Okay. Because at that was the peak of their time. They were getting into the Hollywood industry and okay, they were hot. Okay, so if we're gonna go and date these white girls, black men, why is it that you're getting these trashy white women? That's the question. But Cuba Gooding Jr.'s wife filed for divorce from him after 20 years, Sarah Kaffer. And he's basically in trouble. Remember, they were reporting that women had came forward, white women had came forward mostly, and they had basically said that he was groping them. You understand? And CNN reported on August the 13th, 2020, that prosecutor says that 30 women have came forward and accused Cuba Gooding Jr. of groping them. And these are white women accusations. And so this, of course, happened 2 years ago. This is in October 2019, 2019, sorry, 1990. But it says Manhattan prosecutors in Cuba Gooding Jr.'s groping case said on court Thursday that more women have come forward with accusations of unwanted touching by the Oscar-winning actor, bringing the total number of women to come forward to 30. The prosecution and defense clash over whether defense attorneys could question a victim ahead of trial about statements she made in the past about her breast size and sexual preferences, among other testimonies. Gooding faces 3 counts of forcible touching and 3 counts of sexual abuse to the third degree in separate incidents involving 3 different women in New York. He pleaded not guilty to all charges and denies any wrongdoing. Now, like I said, this happened back in 1999. So we're recapping, okay, about this issue before your COVID-19 crap hit. And we've been looking at the lives of certain types of women or women who wait 15, 20 years to come out. These are typically women whose financial issues are in disarray. You know, you often hear, of course, women who talks there about having high value men or wanting the high value men, and yet do not know what the standards that they should meet in order to get one. But when you talk there about a woman who's financial in shambles, and she's basically is trying to find ways to now get some type of huge settlement. She's dealing with all kinds of issues. She better hope that that settlement money do not run out that quick. Because I'm going to tell you, you got women now in their 40s and 50s that used to be hot, of course, in their 20s. They didn't really have to basically go out chasing a man or dressing themselves up. They really got the man basically because they were hot at that time. You understand? You had people out there, women out there who basically could have gotten a high valued man in their 20s because they were hot and in their acting career was blossoming, blooming, and they met some guy on the set that was making also more than 6 figures, making millions of dollars. But when you get into your 50s, your late 40s and your 50s, then you basically is now have moved away from the market. Just because you're still on the market doesn't mean that people are wanting you on the market. So the problem become is that a lot of women know that. So now the accusations has to come in is that okay, I can find me any type of man who has high style, have high value. Now, I would say that Cuba Gooding Jr. don't have high standard value because he wouldn't have been married to the women that he's married to. But of course, he basically he's a millionaire. So of course they're going to accuse him of things as well. These assaults are misdemeanors, of course. So these assaults are misdemeanors, according to this article on CNN. If I'm not mistaken, I haven't read everything. But now you basically want to say, oh, this is Black Lives Matter stuff and all of this after a bunch of white women have accused you of sexual assault. Now you basically want to speak on your blackness now. The article from CNN goes on to say that Gooding arrived at the New York Supreme Court wearing a black face mask, which he briefly unhooked to reveal that the inside read Black Lives Matter. He was flanked by his attorney, Peter Tobekis, who argued in court Thursday to be able to question people seen in a video around the time Gooding allegedly abused women. We believe that the video unequivocally will show that Cuba committed absolutely no crime, and we expect this case to be dismissed in one day, Tumbekis said. One of those incidents allegedly involved a waitress at a club who says Gooding forcibly touched her in September of 2018. Tumbekis is seeking to testimony from other staffers seen in the video around the time that the incident allegedly took place. Prosecutors argued that whether or not a staffer saw something, it doesn't indicate one way or others that the victim would have reported it. Okay. Now we're basically using our fair use rights here, but I want to basically let you in on a secret about all of these sexual assaults that they're basically charging specifically with black men. That's including R. Kelly, who we'll get into in a minute here. There's a reason why the white mainstream media is fixed on accusing black men and not white men. Like I told you in other commentary, you got evidence against white men just sitting all around everywhere. But then have you noticed, like in R. Kelly's case, you have to go back years and years and years. Bill Cosby case, years and years and years. Cuba Gooding Jr., years, years, and years. You see, the white press has to go back years to try to find something when a black man is accused. But with white men, oh, it happened yesterday. You got evidence laying all around his house. You even got his wife up there saying, "Oh, I believe that he's cheating, yes." And yet the white media pretends like there's no evidence, just like they did in Kevin Spacey's case. Now, remember, I was the one who came and told you about Kevin Spacey and how he's a homosexual actor who has been sleeping with boys, young boys, and stuff like that. But this is not only him. There was Corey Feldman who talked about the industry being, exploded with sexual assaults and allegations and homosexual uh, allegations as well of young boys being raped by men in Hollywood as well. All of this going on. So your Harvey Weinsteins of the world, this is just not with him. You got people in Hollywood who is basically doing the same thing that these guys, what's his name? The one who was found, Jeffrey Epstein, was doing. Okay, but to cover that up, you got to put black men out there. You gotta make sure that you just keep black men in the news media. That's the reason why the white mainstream media, we basically stop listening to them because we know what they're trying to do here. We know what's going on here. But Cuba Gooding Jr. is also at fault as well. Because Cuba Gooding Jr., just like a lot of black men we see, basically go out here and get these trashy white women. And they know that these trashy white women are going to accuse them because they're trying to act like the white women who the white men are actually married to. When you look at Harvey Weinstein, you know that he basically, the only reason why he's getting close to a woman because of his money, because of how much money that he made in the Hollywood industry and how he put all these white women on game about their Hollywood careers. He was the mover and shaker in the business, of course. His brother, of course, knew about all of these scandals and things, and he played, Bob Weinstein, he played a little bit, played it off, you know. But these kinds of issues, the white media likes to basically put black men out there. They like to make sure that their stories are mostly covered against black men. You have Harvey Weinstein out here, and basically, I think they said that he's trying to get out of jail because of COVID, and he might be. I don't know. I haven't kept up with it, the latest article, but I know he did settle. Okay. So we're going to basically go into depth as to what is going on now. Okay. The latest update came on January 26, 2021. A judge has approved a 17 million settlement plan for the sexual misconduct victims of Harvey Weinstein. And here's the thing. Every time white men are accused for sexual assault and be found convicted, they start talking about they got an illness. They start crying and whipping like that white cop and white and Japanese officer in Oklahoma City. They start to basically play the victim and stuff like that. But CNN reported that a U.S. bankruptcy judge has approved a Weinstein Company liquidation plan that allocates over 17 million for Harvey Weinstein's sexual harassment and assault victims. And the attorney for the Weinstein Company confirmed to CNN on Monday. It is true that Judge Mary Walrath approved the settlement plan at the hearing today, attorney Paul Zumbra said, adding that they are pleased with Judge Walrath's ruling, and particularly so given that there's not a mechanism that allows victims to receive compensation without having to endure the hardships and the uncertainties of litigation. Now, all of this is basically saying is that, okay, we're accusing this white man of all of this, but we can put it behind us, just pay out $17 million. All of your white women that's been accusing you, all of that, all of them go away with a healthy settlement. And by the way, this is like letting you know to other white men, okay, let's not, let's document who these white women are, because if they're going to continue to basically keep on saying that we are groping them, we got to make sure that their careers are no more. We got to make sure that we basically stop fooling with them. Okay. But the article from CNN goes on to write that CNN has reached out to Elizabeth A. Fagan, an attorney for the class action plaintiffs, for comments. The Weinstein Company Holdings LLC and 54 affiliates company previously filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in March of 2018 and were later sold to Lantern Capital, a Dallas-based private equity firm, for $310 million. The company also said that at the time it would release victims of the witnesses to Weinstein alleged misconduct from any non-disclosure agreements. The company's $35.2 million liquidation plan allocates $7 million for the establishment of Sexual Misconduct Claims Fund and a liquidation trust for payments of sexual misconduct claims, according to the court documents. Okay? So they're going to receive money. Not all of his accusers are going to receive money, but the $17 million will take care of most of the people. And you see how white people put in place a lot of things that helped them back. Okay, so when Harvey Weinstein knew that, okay, if they come after me, I'm going to have somebody, a third party here, that's going to be able to help me liquidate the assets here. All of the stuff that basically I own and liquid assets and all of this other stuff, property, basically it's going to be some other white man who's going to help me out on that. So they got that down. And so they get all on code with this. We're going to talk there about R. Kelly's and Cosby case here in a minute. But they're on code with this. Now, they said that here's what Harvey Weinstein said in court before his 23-year sentence. Now, Harvey Weinstein was the only white man that went to jail. Okay? There is hundreds and hundreds or even more white men in Hollywood been accused of sexual assault than just one white man. But the court documents, the article goes on to say, however, that the approved plan also provides $9.7 million for legal costs. none in which provide any reimbursement for any defense costs and expenses incurred by Harvey Weinstein. An additional to 8.4 million would be allocated to a liquidated trust to settle claim unrelated to sexual misconduct, the document states. Harvey Weinstein, the company's former chief executive, was sentenced to 23 years in prison in March of 2020 on charges of criminal sexual act and rape. He still faces 6 more sexual assaults charges in Los Angeles. Okay? So get this. It took all of these white women, and you had about what? About one or two black women that he assaulted. It took them all of them to put one white man in jail. Just think about that for a moment. It took almost what, 80, 90 women to accuse him. Then on top of that, he only was sentenced to 23 years. Now, of course, he's what, 60 something years old. So give or take, he'll be out around what, 90 something? Let's do my math here. Of course, I wasn't good in college. Yeah, he'll be 90 years old. I hit it right on the money. Okay, so 90 years old, but he is not going to do the whole entire 23 years in prison, or he's not going to do, because he's already there now. But I think that they were basically saying something about because of COVID he should be out, but I don't know. I have to do more research. But let's look at the charges. 23 years. He's not going to do all the 23 years. He may get out after only serving about 9 or 10 years in prison. Okay? But I wanted to just focus on the fact that it took 81 or 90 women to bring down one powerful white man. Just think about that. You would have thought that if Bill Cosby was basically labeled as Americans' favorite dad, that he too would have had to at least, I guess, had a lot of women coming after him as well. But the women that was accusing him, these allegations, of course, were old. We're talking about allegations from 25, 30 years here or more. You understand? But the article goes on to write and wrap up. It says that Harvey Weinstein, after new charges were lodged in October, his spokeswoman said Harvey Weinstein has always maintained that every one of his physical encounters throughout his entire life has been consensual. That hasn't changed. Okay? So that is the issue here. Oh, so it's a different type of issue with R. Kelly. It's a different type of Sparkle's niece. Tape, oh, we tried, the tape is gone. The tape is not there. But anyway, in the R. Kelly situation, it's a little bit different. You had women accusing him of things that happened 15, 20, no evidence. And yet the man is in prison waiting for trial. Lies about he's a flight risk, talking about he violated the all kinds. You had an issue that it didn't take the court system not long to make sure that they charge him and keep him in jail until his trial. Okay? Now, the thing about this is that the Me Too movement and the Shea Butter Twitter crowd, they were out there, remember Mommy and White Daddy, behind closed doors, adding all this stuff on. And he went on to talk to Gayle King. Now, as I told you, I did a commentary on YouTube about Gayle King. You understand? I did not really, I didn't like I didn't like the interview. But of course, as you know, the white mainstream media, they're going to basically hire somebody within their organization to interview you. So she basically, given a chance, okay, out of everybody who worked at CBS, okay, let's have her. Okay. Now, Gayle King, if we backed up, we know what she was about. We know what her and Oprah is about. They're about to protect White Daddy. Now, remember, Oprah was basically hugging all on Harvey Weinstein. Y'all remember that? Oprah was basically didn't come out defending any of the white women, and that basically who was that Harvey Weinstein basically assault allegations. You see, Oprah was not basically interested in that. Oh yeah, but she was interested in what Bill Cosby was doing. See, she put Bill Cosby. 50 Cent talked about Oprah a great deal. Oprah is your old bedwitch. She's this black woman who cannot stand black men. She got this. She got this. Basically, she got this. This disgust and hatred for us and white people and white men who basically who has given her her daily bread, and the white supremacists in the white media, they like black women like this. They like black women like Gayle King. They like black women. That what's that lady on uh, ABC News, and they got one on a local news who came after R. Kelly. They like these types of women because these are going to be the type of women who basically is going to do the dirty work for White Daddy. But if you look at the women who's accusing R. Kelly, look at the women who's accusing Cuba Gooding Jr., and you will find that they are no basically no match for the women who accuse Harvey Weinstein. You understand? Their careers, excuse me, and most of the life. You see, we thought that Cuba Gooding Jr. after he did Boys in the Hood, we thought that Cuban Gooding Jr. After he did Boys in the Hood, he went on and did something else as well. He went on and did some more movies. We thought that Cuba Gooding Jr. was going to land him. I thought that when Cuba Gooding Jr. did the Boys in the Hood, I thought when he did Jerry Maguire, I thought that when he did Men of Honor and Outbreak, that it was not going to basically get him to date these trashy white women. I didn't think that of Cuba Gooding Jr. when I saw him starting in these roles. You see, when I saw Cuba Gooding Jr. in A Few Good Men, when I saw Cuba Gooding Jr. in Men of Honor, when I saw Cuban Jr. in Zoolander, when I saw him in Daddy's Day Camp, when I saw him in The Hit List, when I saw him in Life of the King, when I saw him in Selma, I thought that if he was dating a white woman then, that it was not going to be this trashy white women that the white man don't want for in a relationship. You see, Cuba Gooding Jr. with millions of dollars decided to do what the black broke man has always done, and that is to go out and get the white women that the white man don't want. You see, I thought Cuba Gooding Jr. was going to go out there and date the white women that had basically something going for herself. See, when I seen Cuba Gooding Jr. in Outbreak, and when I seen him in Jerry Maguire, I thought he basically knew what type of wife to pick. Even if he was dating outside his race, I thought that Cuba Gooding Jr. was going to pick a Nicole Kidman. I thought that Cuba Gooding Jr. qualified for Angelina Jolie. Angelina Jolie, however you say her name. I thought that he qualified for those types of women in Hollywood. Now, I'm only saying this because he decided that he wanted to date a white woman. Okay? So don't get me wrong. I'm just giving you examples of white women I thought that he would basically go for instead of the trashy women that he was dating and married to beforehand. Here you go making millions of dollars and you're basically picking your wife like a poor black man. You see, I thought Cuba Gooding Jr. was going to be very smarter than that. I thought Cuba Gooding Jr. was going to be better than that. You see, with 87 credit titles of films, that now basically your Hollywood career is in shambles because you're groping ugly white women unattractive, and they are now thinking that they are 10 and they are deserving of what the A-list white female actresses are getting. I thought Cuba Gooding Jr. was going to go after a Julia Roberts. You see, and so therefore, we basically looked at this and we said, my God, Cuba Gooding Jr. had basically disappointed us. And then all of the time that he was basically not hanging around black people, not wanting to hang around us, not even wanting to even give a black woman a chance of dating, he shows up in court. Remember, he showed up in court talking with Black Lives Matter on. I was frustrated and disappointed with Cuba Gooding Jr. I was upset about it because I knew that he had options that was way better than the wife that he had with the life of marriage that he had with Sarah Kaffler that nobody knows. The only reason why they know her is because she's with him. You see, dating mediocrity and dating white women who the white man don't want, despite having money, that's a problem. That is an insult to high value black men. It's an insult to relationships itself because Cuba Gooding Jr. did not show us as black men that if we date outside our race, and hopefully forbid us that we don't, but when we do, we got to be able to get with the white woman that will then make the white man jealous that we have. And I thought that Cuba Gooding Jr. was going to then have on his arm a white woman who is worth going to prison, or basically the woman sexually assaulted him, that they were going to be worth getting 20 years in prison or what have you. This is pathetic. Find out. I mean, just to find out how his wife, his basically how his wife looks. You see, because there is white women who think that just because think that they're thick and think that that basically because they look like a thick black chick that they think that a black man is going to automatically just like them. All of them think that. Okay, but when we talk there about a high value black man, even if he is dating outside his race, basically, in order to maintain that kind of stature, he is a fool to marry somebody and to risk that relationship to marry somebody who is a white girl who's a three. You see, that is the selection of a broke black man. You see. And so that is what I was talking about earlier when I told you that we're going to get into talking about Cuba Gooding Jr. Um, R. Kelly, unfortunately, do not date white women. So his situation was a little different. He liked dating young girls. He liked showing up the playground with young girls. No, let me quit. But R. Kelly has been accused of certain things that is real different from what Cuba Gooding Jr. and Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein accused of. R. Kelly basically has positioned himself, even if, because I do believe that he's innocent of the charges. I don't know if I'm not talking about the last case, the first case. I'm talking about this case. And he might be innocent of the charges of the last cases. But what I'm saying here is that his situation is different because they involve young girls. You see, there's no real answer for what he's been accused of. You don't basically sleep with young girls. That's just something you just don't do. So he's been accused of something basically that is, you know, against the law and it's immoral. So, but when we deal with his issues, we're talking about things that he's accused of that happened 15, 20 years ago. I'm not talking about the adult women that came out and accused him of sexual assault. They basically knew what they were doing. I'm not even supporting the adult women in his issue, in his case. I'm for the young girls that is accusing him. Okay, because they don't know any better. If this is true, but when we look at the ideal here, we had Sparkle's niece, right? Who they said was on the video. The police interviewed her. She said all everybody said that was not her. Okay, the man got off in his first trial. The women who's accusing him now had the opportunity to be included in the first trial, and they chose not to be. That's what I'm talking about. How you're waiting so long to basically come up with these accusations. That's one of the issues I have in the R. Kelly situation. In Bill Cosby, you get a lying white woman, just like in Cuba Gooding Jr.'s case. You get these ugly white women who talk about, oh, you groped me, you basically poisoned me, and I had a drink, and I couldn't basically feel like where I'm at, and all of that. And yet, oh, if you pay me hush money, I won't say anything. And then you come back 15, 20 years. Now you're talking up a storm because you're broke. Okay? That's what we're basically talking about. You see, the white media likes to perpetrate as if these women are all innocent. That's not the case. That's not the truth. Because the truth is, as R. Kelly's attorney's been saying, none of these women reported to the police any of these incidents. It's just not true. So I had a sit down, well, a conversation with Jocelyn Savage's father. Okay. In fact, now since we have our sound equipment, we're going to still see if he's willing to come and talk about his daughter. But I asked him, I sat down and I asked him, listen, what you're saying about R. Kelly and what he did to your daughter, is this true? And he had showed me some checks and stuff of what he'd make at work or whatever, and said, see, I don't lie. I don't have to extort money and pimp my daughter and all that. I got money. Okay. That was his answer. Maybe he would come on the show, in which he told me before that he would basically sit down one on one in an interview with lawyer Henderson, because I asked the tough questions. You see, we're not like your roly poly Martins. We're not like your Van Joneses who out here crying and stuff every time that they think that, some white supremacist is leaving office or whatever. We don't have to cry and wimp like some kid. Every time you see Van Jones, he's crying all on CNN and stuff. We sit down here and we want the facts on our show. You understand? But now, even though the Weinstein has been uh, is settling with these women who accused him, and people said, "Oh, well, you can't talk about that. The man got 23 years. Let it go." No, I'm talking about it is because he can get out just like they're trying to do with Amber Geiger. I'm talking about it because even though he got 23 years, because he's settling, he could get good behavior and only do 9 years, and next thing you know, he's out. You see, that's the reason why we're going back over the issue here. Just because they put one white man in jail and he had to settle does not mean that he's going to basically do the entire term here. They already, like I said, when white men accused of things, they always talk about health issues, and they basically come out and now they got heart problems and all these conditions and stuff like that because they don't like facing the music. Remember that doctor? Go and YouTube that doctor. Go YouTube that doctor after he basically was found guilty and would spend the rest of his life in jail or whatever. Go look at when he swallowed that pill, that poison, and just knocked out, basically killed himself, committed suicide right on camera. Okay? And then basically go look at the black man who gets 25 years for a crime that they did not do, that they did not commit. And after 24 years, 25 years, 40 years, or what have you, they still come out and they basically don't have no ill will to the system. Look at that. Because what they see, the white supremacists know that we have been built, our bodies as black men has been built unlike others. And so therefore, we're the only ones that you know that basically have been enslaved, have been used for all kinds of things, have been sent to prison for 30, 40, 50 years, and we can still leave jail with our sanity most of the time. A lot of white men, they can't do that. They basically will drop out of a bridge, off a bridge. They would basically kill themselves, and like Madoff son did. So our bodies was built to basically handle things. We could adjust to things. Moreover, you see the guy who's the black man who's in the prison, he knows that he's innocent, right? So every day he's taking it one step at a time, knowing that at one point he may get an opportunity of freedom. So he's waiting. The white dude who's doing that, oh man, I lost my pills, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to kill myself in jail. I can't handle this. You see, I'm not saying all, but a lot of them. So there's a difference here, okay, as far as basically about these charges. So now we as men have to be very careful when we are now dating, especially in the Hollywood industry. You got to be very careful because you got women who will accuse you of this, just like the superstars, basically, who of course played football or basketball, and they're only on their way to play in colleges, and then they get some hood rat that they sleep with, and she's lying all over the place, talking about they raped her and stuff. Look how she can end that guy's dream just based upon the decisions that he made to even go to the same place and area just for 5 minutes with her. You understand? And like I said, I'm not talking that all sexual assault victims are lying, but what I'm saying is that we have to be careful nowadays as men. So the charges, of course, as we saw even with Bill Cosby, that all of these accusations were 20, 30 years old, and we're finding that they were from old, dusty white women whose, of course, Hollywood careers had failed. Remember all of that? Hollywood careers has failed, um, broke. These women are most broke. They're likely broke. And Bill Cosby, there was some issues, of course, where they said that Bill Cosby was going to buy NBC. They said that Bill Cosby, according to Dr. Umar Johnson, had some land that was sitting on oil. They basically was, trying to find ways to destroy Bill Cosby. And an article, of course, when he was sentenced to about 3 to 10 years in state prison, there was no real evidence, but one specific woman who basically we believe that lied, of course. We're talking about an 83-year-old man. You understand? Excuse me. An 83-year-old man going to jail. Look at that. Well, he was not 83 when he went to jail, but he was in his 80s though. So when it comes to a black man, they really don't care about how old you are. They will put your tail in jail, especially if you're a black man. But the article in CBS News were talking about how the Pennsylvania Supreme Court heard arguments in the Bill Cosby appeal on December 1st, 2020. of last year. Go ahead and get the like, subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe and leave comments on our YouTube channel. If you're listening on Instagram, go ahead and like the Instagram video. But the articles, and remember, we're using our fair use rights here to basically strategically attack the white media's propaganda here. But of course, as we know, that they're going to always keep doing this. That's the reason why we're pushing to basically for reparations so we can move away from the white media's ideology here. That we can be able to finance our own news outlets and control our own narratives. That's what we have to do, because the white media is not going to basically give us justice. And one of the things that you have to understand is that not giving us and giving us justice is there has been the white supremacist system all day. The article from CBS, though, goes on to say that Pennsylvania highest court questioned Tuesday whether Bill Cosby's alleged history of intoxicating and sexually assaulting young women amounted to a signature crime pattern. Given studies that shows as many as half of all sexual assault involve drugs or alcohol, Cosby, 83, hopes to overturn his 2018 sex assault conviction because the judge let prosecutors call 5 other accusers who said Cosby mistreated them the same way he did his victim, Andrea Constant. The defense said their testimony prejudiced the jury against the actor and should not have been allowed. That conduct you described steps young women, their literature that says that common to 50% of their assaults, thousands of assaults nationwide. Chief Justice Thomas G. Saylor asked as a prosecutor during oral arguments in the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. So how can that be a common scheme? The prosecutor, in response, offered more precise detail about the relationship, saying Cosby used his fame and fortune to mentor the women and then took advantage of them. And he sometimes befriended their mothers or families. Okay, now here's what I'm talking about. This is what they said in R. Kelly's case. In every situation where a black man is accused, it's always now that they befriended the family and the friends. How do you become friends with the family and friends with the friends? And yet now that's the way that you stay away from prosecutorial misconduct. I don't understand because not prosecutorial misconduct. That's the situation of saying, well, he took advantage of being befriended the friends, but it doesn't say how he befriended them. Did he give them money like they're accusing in R. Kelly's case? How did he befriended them in order to keep him away from being prosecuted? You see how they do that when black men are accused. Oh, well, he became friends of the victims so that he can basically get close to the victim. This is what I'm talking about. It's all irrational. You understand? That's what you have to put on a black man. You got to basically make up things that you think that it sound good, so that this is going to get the public who reads your crap to say, "Oh, I can't believe he a dirty dog." How do you befriend the friends of the victims, and they go along with the assault? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. You understand? I befriended her mother, and her mother allowed me to come over last weekend. Boy, did we get it on. Stupid, man. That doesn't make sense here. But that's what this Constance, or whatever, however you say this woman's name, got him on. There was a built-in level of trust because of his status in the entertainment industry, and because he held himself out as a public moralist, said Assistant District Attorney Adrian Japp, a suburban Philadelphia, Montgomery County, where Constance says she was assaulted at Cosby Estate in 2004. You see, you got to watch these old, dirty, white, filthy women who basically get close to you, these celebrities. This is no different than the thought or the chick that is accusing T.I. and Tiny right now. These are women who were willing to go into the home, and the first thing that was told to them, oh no, y'all got to do some drugs. Okay. Oh, you're going to put a gun to my head? All right, I'll be back tomorrow. You see, this doesn't make sense. But the article goes on to say on CBS against Cosby that the signature was isolating and intoxicating young women for the purpose of sexually assaulting them, Jade said. Cosby had served more than 2 years of his 3 to 10 year prison sentence for drugging and molesting Constance, whom he met through the basketball program at his alma mater, Temple University. Okay. Court has long wrestled with the decision about when other accusers should be allowed to testify in criminal cases. In general, not allowed, but state law permits a few exceptions, including to show a signature crime pattern or to improve someone's identity. The state's highest court appears eager to address the issue, and in doing so, took on the first celebrity criminal case of the Me Too era. The court typically takes several months to issue its opinion. You see what I'm saying? This Me Too crap is going to get a lot of women not to be trusted in the industry. You know why a lot of women really lost their jobs? Not because of necessary of there was just no job for them, is because a lot of these white corporations were saying, wait a minute, we have a lot of women who are basically accusing or coming to the HR department with a lot of these sexual assault allegations. And so, therefore, it was great that COVID had hit because it was great for the corporations because this is a time that we can use to get, and say that we don't have this job no more. It's no longer available, and we're going to put all y'all asses on unemployment before y'all file a lawsuit against us. You see, so we're not saying that women basically are not engaged, are not dealing with sexual harassment. No, what we're saying is that it's going to be more harder for you all to climb up the corporate ladder now, in which y'all use y'all stature to say that I'm a high value woman. But what happens then when you don't have a job because of the accusations? And we're not saying that the accusations are false. What we're saying is that this is one of the ways unto which your boss can get rid of you because we know that you're headed to the courthouse to file that suit. It goes on to wrap up though that says that that Judge Stephen T. O'Neill had allowed just one other accuser to testify at Cosby's first trial in 2017. When the jury could not reach a verdict, the Me Too movement took hold months later with media reports about movie mogul Harvey Weinstein and other men accused of sexual assault. So they're here admitting right here, the white media is admitting that, okay, a white man has been accused, but see, we're going to put this black dude in jail because the Me Too movement is all about putting black men in jail. Okay. So how they did that was they used a white man and said, oh, this is what he did. Of course, Harvey Weinstein got the 23 years, but remember, he's the only white man basically that went to prison. But you have to understand that there's a lot of more white men. If we had enough time, we'll go over all of them who basically has been accused of sexual assault. Okay. And we'll go over them in a minute here. O'Neill then left 5 other accusers testified at Cosby retrial in 2008 when a jury convicted him of drugging and sexually assaulted Constantine, or however you say this woman's name. Cosby appellate lawyer Jennifer Bojan said prosecutors exploited all of this vague testimony about his prior behavior and his acknowledgement that he had given women alcohol or quaaludes, other medications before sexual encounters. Okay, so I consented with you, but yeah, I'll take this drug too if that's what you want me to do in order to basically have sex with you. So none of these women, besides Constance, I think she's the only one that went to the police, but all the other accusers, they didn't have police reports. But the article goes on to say that they put Mr. Cosby in a position where he had no shot. The presumption of innocence just didn't exist for him. Bone John said that in an argument Tuesday, which were held online because of the COVID-19 pandemic, Constant went to police in 2005, about a year after the night at his home. The other women knew Cosby in the 1980s through the entertainment industry, and they did not go to police. Okay, so that's why her case went to trial. Okay, the defense also challenged the trial's judge's decision to let the jury hear damaging testimony Cosby gave in a lawsuit Constant filed against him in 2005, after then prosecutor Bruce Castor declined to arrest Cosby. The testimony was sealed for nearly a decade until the Associated Press asked a federal judge to release documents from the case as more Cosby accusers came forward. The judge agreed. The Castor's successor reopened the case in 2015, just months before the statute of limitation to arrest him would have expired. Okay, Cosby, a one beloved comedian and actor known as as American Dad, has said he would serve his entire 10-year term rather admit wrongdoing to the parole board. So he basically, Cosby said that he's innocent here. And just because you put a black man in jail does not mean he's guilty. Look at how many black men have went to jail, like I said earlier, and after 20, 30 years, they're getting out for some crimes that they didn't do. You see, you got to just basically lie on us. You see, that's what the white media and the white supremacist system do. They have to lie. These women knew what they were getting. And they basically needed somebody to leverage. They needed somebody to accuse so they can level the playing field in the media. So, we can't just talk about white men engaging in all of this sexual assault. We got to find out some Negroes who's doing the same thing. So we don't care if about it being 20, 30 years, we're going to still bring it up because they want to deflect what white men are out here being accused of. You see? But I wanted to talk to you about that. In fact, we got about 14 minutes here. Speaking of white males being accused in Hollywood, let's talk about it. Like we always do in the white supremacist media, they are always trying to deflect. Well, let's talk about it. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube. Yeah, that's so now that we have the issue of a lot of black men setting themselves up for these kinds of issues. You got black women who set themselves up as well, too. You got black men who set themselves up. They get in these predicaments like Cuba Gooding Jr., and now you want to talk about pro-black. You see right here? Now that's what you want to throw up after a white woman accused you of rape. Okay? You want to come back and say, I'm a pro-black this and pro-black that. You got this, you got a lot of black women Remember that black chick and the white dude? They had sex with her. They did like a porno with her, and just turned her out and just like ugh. She came back trying to be Miss Pro Black, Pro Black. You got this woman, this Aaliyah woman, whose white daddy basically beat her to death. Got other women out here. They're talking. They basically behind closed doors. They're engaging in all kinds of slave role play with these white men. And so when white daddy starts hitting them on top of their head, you know what I'm saying? They got now. Look at them. They're coming out talking about, oh, I can't believe he was so charming here. He wouldn't have done this. He was so charming and stuff. That was even white men who told you all, you told you black women, listen, we're not as charming, or we're not no different than any other man. He told these black women, stop hyping up other white men. They're not the same as they're not no different than other men. They have issues the same way here. But these bed witches and these bootlicking Negroes, they want to basically ignore the truth. You had Cuba Gooding Jr., who could have had him a beautiful black wife like Denzel, like Will Smith. Even though we basically got a question mark with Will Smith, but with Ice Cube and Snoop Dogg, who's been married to their wives, their black wife, and LeBron James' wife, of course, Savannah, the perfect personification of a true wife is that Savannah, LeBron James' wife. But she understands her role in that situation. She understands that basically if my husband, as she understands, is providing, if he's providing, well, let him provide. In just the same way as if a black woman is basically being supported, right? I mean, black men, you don't have to go out there and marry Becky and marry all of these Karens who are now basically is now accusing you of all kind of groping and sexual assault charges. And that's the problem of what we see a lot of black people are now facing. But it's moreover white men been accused of this. But see, the white media is going to try to make sure that they focus on the black man because the narrative is to change it away from who the real perpetrators are. And that's the white media's goal. You understand? But see, on the Lawyer Henderson show, we don't basically accuse anybody of anything until we provide the receipts. And we do that on the Lawyer Henderson show. We basically make sure that we provide the receipts. Okay? You rarely get us to not say about how many people accuse Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein. You got his accuser right now. Jeffrey Epstein, young accusers, young women, talking about what this white man has done and how he basically had sold this young girl to the highest bidder while they were on his yacht, his plane. You got, like I said, you got Kevin Spacey. You have other white men, Matt Lauer. Okay, you got Les Moonves, the former chief at CBS. You got a lot of white men who's been accused of sexual harassment here. Bill O'Reilly and other people from Fox News. You had a lot of these white men who work as these executives are inside the news and other types of media conglomerates who's been accused. But the white media wants to focus on R. Kelly, Bill Cosby, and Cuba Gooding Jr. And Cuba Gooding Jr. case could have been avoided. You know why? Because, like I said earlier, Cuba Gooding Jr. was a high valued black man after he wrapped up Boys in the Hood. and he chose to get with a Becky. He chose to get with a woman who basically is a three in white women terms. When you put this white woman that basically that he was married to for 20 years, Sarah Kaffler, and his former wife, both of them on a scale of 1 to 10 was a three. You're making all of that money, and you're basically going to set yourself up to basically be with a three white woman, a white woman who's worth a three. That you got to question yourself. You see, when we basically tell you all that there is basically no way that you can say that the grass is greener on the other side. Amos Wilson taught us very good. He says that relationships between groups are not the same as relationships with people, not at all. And groups have no common relationships. They have what? Common interests. He taught us that at a very early age. He taught us that if you are a high valued black man, there is no way that you should be being accused of being a sexually harassing some white woman who is not even worth, who's not, don't even look like a dime, who is a three on a scale of 1 to 10. How Cuba Gooding Jr. set his own self up when he basically was basically doing the movie Jerry Maguire. Cuba Gooding Jr. had basically all of the women in Hollywood that could look at him. But now he went with this white woman and became butt broken. And now you go to these other parties and they start setting you up. They start saying, oh, he's groping me and all that stuff because they smell the money that you got in your pocket. Okay? And of course, this is where we try to talk with black men about this kind of stuff here. Now, you might say, well, black women do it too, but no. We have a situation where they might show up at the end of a basketball game and get pregnant by a basketball star. That's how they get you. I'm pregnant with you. You making a lot of money. I'm pregnant by you now. I got you, nigga. That's how they do it. Okay. And of course, the child support come later. But in a sense, though, it's basically I would rather to get a girl pregnant, a woman pregnant, and then having to be placed on child support, but then get sued for sexual assault. Let's just say that, because there are real consequences in sexual assault, and there's consequences, of course, of then getting a woman pregnant because of all of the problems and the discipline problems and issues that she got, and the child may experience. But at least you can try to correct that as society goes on. But being accused of sexual assault and facing 23 years, no. And you're not even facing these years being accused by a white woman who's a dime. You're being accused by white women who the white man don't even want. In other words, you got the same mentality, Cuba Gooding Jr., of dating white women that the black broke man got. That's dangerous. That's saying that you have not learned anything about the value of yourself and that you're lacking all kinds of qualities and you're dealing with insecurity here. Okay? Because what you're saying is, despite you being a high valued man, you're saying that you're not worthy, that even if you're going to date outside your race, that you should not get a Julia Roberts, or you don't basically qualify for a high valued woman, regardless of who the woman is, regardless of race. That is Cuba Gooding Jr.'s problem. But the real charges against this man are bogus, like the charges against Bill Cosby and R. Kelly are. Weinstein charges, there was a lot of evidence. There was 80, 90 women accusing him of doing the same thing. In fact, he should have got more than 23 years in prison. You understand? And so that's the most important thing here. Black men are going to jail based upon the fact because there's a propaganda here. You understand? You did? And we have to basically understand and watch out for women who are accusing us. This issue with T.I., it is a huge problem in the black community because now we're allowing immigrants to come among us talking about they're black, and now they're basically, all they see is a bag of money, and now they'll come out and accuse you of sexual assault. Every time the Democrats get in office, we got this Me Too movement, and here come another black man being accused of something. That's the reason why we didn't want this fool to win, because we knew that your Shea Butter Twitter crowd was coming. They would just have to find some celebrity or some person in the music industry, and basically, there you go. If you have not visited our YouTube website, go to youtube.com/Lawyer Henderson TV. Don't forget to leave your comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I am your gracious host. I'm the one and only Lawyer Henderson with Lawyer Henderson TV. We're moving on to bigger and better things. We'll be basically coming back tomorrow, hopefully the same time in the same place. You're watching and you're listening to the Lawyer Henderson podcast radio show on Blog Talk Radio as well. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and also those people who are on Instagram, hit that video like the like button on the video. And we will have that live downloaded for you soon. Thanks for listening.